Hi guys, my name is Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be celebrating the 35th anniversary of Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. The film came out way back in October 1989. Now, I'm not old enough to remember that film getting a theatrical release, and I don't even know if it got a theatrical release in the UK. I don't believe it did, but don't quote me on that. However, I didn't see this film until the late 90s. I think Halloween H2O was a lot of people my age's intro to the Halloween franchise. Yes, of course, we probably saw Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 first because those always played around Halloween time. But Halloween H2O was most of our, people my age, introduction to the Halloween franchise. And because of Halloween H2O, we then go back and try and watch all the Halloween films because we find out that H2O is the 7th movie in the franchise. So we then have to go back and watch the other 6, even including Season of the Witch. But Halloween 5 was one of the ones where I saw it because I was in school one day and I was talking to my friends about Halloween H2O, seeing that for the first time, thinking it's great. This was back in 1999, although H2O came out in 98. And I was telling my friend about it, my friend Brian. His name's Brian McLeavy. Hi, Brian. He's probably not watching. However, Brian's like, well, I've got Halloween 4 and 5 on VHS. They're my dad's. And I'm like, oh, please, can I borrow them? Please, I'll bring them back to you. Because I'd seen Halloween 4, I believe, but I didn't see Halloween 5. It was so hard to get. Video stores like Blockbuster were only renting out the big films. So Halloween 1 and 2 were there, and Halloween H2O was there because it was a new film at the time. So Halloween 3, 4, and 5 were hard to get unless they were on TV. And they were never on TV here in the UK. So I was like, please, can I borrow Halloween 5? And he's like, yeah, I'll ask my dad. And then the next day, lo and behold, he brought in Halloween 5 for me to borrow. And I was like, yes. Now, before I tell you what happens next, guys, if you're just new to my anniversary videos, I do go into my experience of seeing Halloween for the first time, or Halloween 5 in this case, or the film that we're talking about. And I've already asked you guys your experiences and memories of seeing Halloween 5 for the first time. I do have a select few that I will be reading out at the end of the video, so stay tuned to see if your comment has been read out at the very end. But going back to this, got the VHS of Brian, took it home, watched it, and I genuinely remember thinking, that's a decent film. Brian actually told me that he loved Halloween 5. I think he said it was his best film in the franchise at this point. And I'm like, okay, it must be a good film if it's even better than H2O. So I watched it and I think I was happy with it. I don't think I hated the film. He did tell me to look out for the laundry chute scene that I still believe was pretty good. And it's still a good scene to this day. And I think I was so wrapped up in Jamie Lloyd's character that I didn't really care if the film was too bad. I still would have loved it anyway. And I still thought, yeah, that was a decent film. I just got myself a scanner at the time. And I said to Brian, can I scan the VHS cover and record the VHS onto another VHS? I was just getting into my VHS recordings at the time. So I recorded his VHS onto my VHS and I scanned his cover and I had my own Halloween 5. So I gave him his VHS back and I then finally owned Halloween 5 on not a legitimate Halloween 5 VHS. Now, the years haven't been kind to Halloween 5 because after liking the film the first time I watched it in 1999, I rewatched it again and again and again, of course, and I started to like the film less and less. And I also started to understand the storyline that they were trying to introduce to us with the Man in Black and the Thorn cult when I eventually watched Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. But then when I go back and watch Halloween H2O, which was more grounded and obviously a lot better film, I then look back on Halloween 5 and go, maybe this wasn't a good film. And then obviously 35 years after the film came out, watching it now, it's a pretty bad film. There are some bad films in the Halloween franchise, and most of them are still watchable. But when I look at films like Halloween 5 and Halloween Resurrection and possibly Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, those are the 3 films in the franchise that I look back on and think they're bad films. Are they still watchable? Yes, in a way. I've said this many times that even if the films are bad in the franchise, there's still something about Michael Myers that I want to see. But when you watch Halloween 5, it's not just Michael Myers you want to see. You want to see Jamie Lloyd because of how great she was in Halloween 4. And of course, this was the last film in the franchise that Dr. Loomis played a big role. Obviously, he was in Curse of Michael Myers, but he didn't play a massive role in it. This was his last film where he was running about with a gun and trying to catch Michael when he was still enthusiastic and he still had all his big epic lines. So there was many things that take you back to Halloween 5 that it makes it a rewatchable film. But there were so many mistakes that they made in the film, so many bad decisions that they made. You still are left scratching your head thinking, why would you do that? Especially after the success of Halloween 4. Halloween 4 was a great film. Why couldn't they just continue on with what they've done with Halloween 4? Why introduce the Thorn cult? Why introduce a new Myers house that looks nothing like the original Myers house? Why give us that new mask when you didn't have to do that? And why mute the best character from Halloween 4 for half of Halloween 5? It just makes no sense. And then why kill off one of the best final girls we've had in the Halloween franchise in Rachel? So many bad decisions that they made in this film. It's unbelievable. That's just my quick thoughts on Halloween 5, guys. It's not a good film. It's one of the worst films in the franchise. And it's one of the films in the franchise that I reluctantly go back and watch. I still watch it from time to time because I do have to do rewatches for videos like this, or if I'm doing a Halloween watch along for all the Halloween films. It's the only time I will go back to Halloween 5. Other than that, I try and avoid it. So now is the time to go into your memories of Halloween 5. Now, I've not read any of these, but I've got them in front of me here. I have to avoid, I say this all the time, I have to avoid the ones where you're just telling me what you think of the film, because that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you your memories of seeing this film for the first time, or at least the lead up to seeing the film for the first time. I don't mind you telling me your thoughts on the film. And in fact, I do read every single comment that you leave, whether it's about a memory or something else. So I do appreciate all the comments that I get. As with all my anniversary reviews, anything to do with Halloween, I always get a lot of comments, so I can't read them all out, unfortunately. So I've selected a few of them to read out, and we'll go through them one at a time. First up, we've got Austin Williams 5348. Austin said, I remember watching this for the first time on AMC Fear Fest. I immediately felt the Halloween spirit. I was young, probably around 10. Now I watch it every year. Sometimes multiple times through October. Oof. It holds a special place in my heart. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with the franchise. Definitely good Halloween vibes. Keep it up, Barry. I watch every video. Oh, thanks very much, Austin. If you grew up watching Halloween 5 all the time, I can understand why you would like this film more than the average Halloween fan. I appreciate that because there's some films in the franchise that I grew up watching more and more, like Halloween H2O, and I know that some people don't like H2O, and it's completely understandable, and I understand why people would like Halloween 5, so yeah, it's good that you get to watch on channels like AMC Fear Fest. I see this quite a lot. We didn't have this in the UK, which is why we were desperate to borrow VHSs from people who were lucky enough to have them. Slasher10196 said, I can always remember my dad coming in with the double feature DVD with Halloween 4 and 5 on it. We used to watch them back to back religiously. And although Halloween 5 might not be the best movie in the franchise, I always love going back and watching it because it brings back great memories of me and my dad. There you go. Another great example as to why some people might like Halloween 5 more than others. That memory, those nostalgic moments that you have with specific family members. So I completely appreciate why you like that. The good thing for you is though, Slasher, you watched it for the first time on DVD. So you're obviously a little bit younger than myself. We didn't get to have the DVDs till later in my life. And at that point, I already didn't like Halloween 5. Chris Manley, 1994, said, Halloween 5 was actually the very first Halloween film I ever saw as a kid on Halloween night in 2004. I remember getting back from trick-or-treating and watching it whilst digging into my haul, Halloween candy. I know it gets a bad rep in the Halloween fan community, but it'll always have a special place in my heart because of that memory. That's amazing that the first three memories that I've read out as fond memories of Halloween 5, and I actually really appreciate that because I don't believe every Halloween film should always get negative comments. I want to see the positive side to every Halloween film, and so far we're getting that. Michael Evans said Halloween 4 was the first horror movie I ever watched in the summer of 1991. I was able to see Halloween 5 the next weekend on VHS, which was rented from the local store. I've always been a fan. It's very nostalgic for me, and I love the late 80s cheesy American fashion and hairstyles. Another positive comment. I can't believe this, guys. I'm actually shocked, but I'm also pleasantly surprised that you guys have fond memories of this. Matthew the Lionheart said, I remember watching part 5 in the 6th grade with two friends during a sleepover. My buddy who towered over us was the biggest baby when it came to horror films. While Michael was stabbing the laundry chute with Jamie in it, I remember him going, oh, in a high-pitched voice and stealing all the nearby blankets. That's really good memories because Halloween 5 must have made an impact on you, Matthew, because not only do you remember having that memory, you remember specific moments in that memory you have, just like I do with Halloween H2O when watching it with my friends. You share that similar memory with your friends for Halloween 5. Jordan Moran, 1983, one of my friends. Hi, Jordan. Jordan said, for what felt like years, my video shop only had 4 and 5, so I saw them together for the first time. The shoot scene is undeniable, but what a drop-off overall. I think I was crying more than Michael by the end. Thankfully, the shop got 1 and 2 as a combo video, only charged once for the two films, that's cool, in the early 90s. I think Jordan's from Scotland as well, guys, and it's crazy to find that someone from the same country as me found it easy to rent 4 and 5, but not 1 and 2, whereas I found it easy to rent 1 and 2, but not 4 and 5. That shows you how rare some of those tapes were in Scotland, because his store probably had the only 4 and 5 that was in the entire country, and my store probably only had the one copy of 1 and 2 in the entire country as well. Logan Dumont said, I know it's one of the worst Halloween movies, but it's so nostalgic for me. My dad and I used to sit together and watch both 4 and 5 on the AMC channel every October. My dad is no longer with us, so watching this one makes me think of him. That's quite sad, Logan. I'm sorry to hear that. Obviously, everyone has different memories. That's a nice memory to read out. I do love reading all the memories out. Those ones are really poignant and sad, but they're important, and I'm glad you can talk about it, Logan, and I'm really glad you shared that with me. Jason Chislett said, my family have always been a huge Halloween movie tribe. We were so stoked when 4 came out, and my mom, dad, and my cousin would go see them at the theatre opening night. I loved 4. It's so effing dark and atmospheric. 5 was a definite departure, but we still loved it, and we were all dumbfounded with the ending. Unfortunately, 6 was the last one we saw together at the theatre. I'm a sucker for the franchise and loved it despite its flaws. My biggest disappointment was I really had hopes that Paul Rudd fellow would have had a career, or that Paul Rudd fellow would have a career. He seems so charismatic. Oh well, happy Friday the 13th. Jason left that comment on Friday the 13th. That's why he said happy Friday the 13th. But yeah, 5 was definitely a departure. It's nice to read comments that your family were Halloween fans, like the whole family were that tribe together, watching all these Halloween movies together, and that builds up on those memories. It's just unfortunate that, like you said, Halloween 5 was a departure. I'll read one more comment out, guys, and this one's from Jordan Stevenson. Jordan said, I can't remember exactly the first time I watched it. I had it on DVD. It must have been quite recent then. Yes, I know that's embarrassing. I used to be entertained by it. Well, so did I, Jordan. Now I think to myself, what the was I thinking? And yeah, I agree. What the F were you thinking, Jordan? And that's what I think about when I think back on Halloween 5, remembering enjoying it before. But again, you were probably young at the time. I was young at the time. It's understandable that we look back in this film 10, 15, 20 years later, or however many years it's been, and think, it actually wasn't a really good film. But reading back on all these comments, guys, I understand that some people do like it for nostalgic reasons. And when people say, oh, you shouldn't use nostalgia as a way of liking a film, why not? Because nostalgia is one of the biggest things in our lives that if you want to use that as a positive for a film that is negatively received, then good on you, because I do the same with films as well. I just don't have a totally positive, nostalgic memory of Halloween 5 because, like I said, I thought it was good at the time, but I just don't like it now. But with all the comments that I read out, guys, thanks very much for contributing to this video. I have read all the comments, like I said, guys, during this video. I just can't read them all out because some of them are not memories and some of them were duplicates as well. So I just couldn't read some of those out. But rest assured, I did read them all out, and I do continue to read them all out after this video. If you have any more memories though, guys, that you haven't contributed towards, then by all means, leave those memories down below. It doesn't stop there because I've stopped recording. Leave the memories down below and we can all get involved. But I really appreciate everyone who took the time to leave a nice comment on Halloween 5. So that's all for today, guys. Looking back on Halloween 5 after 35 years, I don't think time is on its side because with every passing year, I do personally believe that Halloween 5 is getting worse and it maybe go down on my list when it comes to doing a ranking video in the future because it is pretty bad, to be honest. But what are your thoughts on Halloween 5, guys? And like I said, what are your memories on seeing Halloween 5 for the first time? Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!